Hello everybody, hope you are doing great. In this video, I'm gonna go through the most used array methods. Alright, so first let's start off with the map method. So let's find an array. Let's give it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, let's console log it. See if everything's working alright. There you go. I have our array over there. And yeah, so let's use the array to the map method. So the map method is going to return an array. I'll call it array temporary, alright? And the map method takes a callback function as an argument, alright? So let's call it item, and let's return. Let's say before we do anything, I have this array with values from 1 to 5. I want to return the same array, but I want to add 10 to each item of this array. So how do I do it? So let's type here item plus 10. I'm going to expand what just alright. So every single item of this array is going to be called with this function, alright? So instead of returning the item itself, we're going to return the item plus 10, alright? And all the return values are going to be stored in this array temp, alright? So for every single item in the array, it's going to be called with this function. And instead of returning this item, we're going to return the item at plus 10. Alright, so let me console log the array temp to say if the result was correct. And as you can see, guys, 1 plus 10 is 11, 2 plus 10 is 12. So we managed to return the array, but we've added 10 basically to every single item of the array. Alright. So this is it pretty much for the map method. Now let's move on to the filter method. Alright, so let me replace filter. So a filter works a little bit different. Alright, so we should not return a value, we should return a boolean instead of a value. So if the returned value is true, the item would be added to the array. If the return value was false, the item would not be added to our array. So let's say I only wanted to add items that are, let's say, greater than 3, which means our temporary array should only have 4 and 5 as values. So if I save the file, as you can see, we only have 4 and 5. Alright, so quick recap. So the filter method takes an argument, a callback as an argument, right? And this function is going to be called with every single item of the array. And if the condition was true, right? If the return value was true, the item would be added to the array. If it was false, it would not be in our array. Alright, so this is it for the filter. Now let's move on to the reduce method. So the reduce method is a little bit different because we are not going to be returning an array. Alright, so let's say I wanted to calculate the sum of all of these items in this array. Alright, how do I do it? So the reduce method takes an argument, a callback as an argument, right? I call this one accumulator, this one let me call it current. Alright, so let's return the accumulator plus the current. Alright, let me save it. So in here we're not, as I said, I'm not going to be returning an array, we're going to be returning a value. So let's call it sum. Alright, so if I console log sum, let's see what's gonna be logged in the console. 15. So that's the sum of these items in this array. So what happened? Alright, so the initial value of accumulator, alright, is going to be 1, the first item of the array, and the current value, initial value, is going to be 2, and the return is going to be the sum of these two, which is going to be in our case 1 plus 2, which is 3. And we're going to iterate again, so the current is going to be 3, but the accumulator is going to be equal to the previous return of this function. Alright, are we going to go we're going to keep looping through our array till the current is equal to 5, and then the return value in that case is going to be stored in this sum variable. So let me give a quick let me explain how it's going to work. So first, the accumulator is going to be equal to the first value of the array, so it's going to be 1. The current is going to be 2, all right? So the return is going to be 1 plus 2, which is 3. Now we iterate again. So the accumulator, as I said, is going to be equal to the return value of the previous function, all right? So it's going to be 3, and the current is going to be 3, all right? And the return will be 6, all right? Return is 6. Again, the accumulator is going to be equal to the previous value, so 6, and the current is 4, which means the return is going to be 10, all right? Accumulator is 10, and the current is going to be 5, which means the return is going to be the sum of the two, which is 15. So now we stop because we reached the end of the array. So now this value is going to be stored in the sum. So that's it. This is how the reduce method works on arrays. So now let's move on to the forEach method, right? Let me remove this from here. All right. So the forEach is similar to the map, right? Only difference is that the forEach does not return an array. All right, that's the only difference. So we could say array forEach, right? And it takes also a callback function as an argument, call it item, and I want to console log the item. All right. If I save it, as you can see, we console logged every single item of our array. All right. So again, this callback function is going to be called on every single item of our array. All right, and we basically we're logging the item to the array. All right, so this is for the forEach function. All right, now let's move on to the includes. All right, so includes is going to return a Boolean value, whether true or false. So we pass a value, let's say sum. If I save, it returned false. Why? Because includes check if the passed value does exist in an array. In our array, there is no value called sum, so the return value will be false. Say 55. Our array doesn't contain 55, so the return is false. But if I said 1, the return is going to be true, because 1 actually does exist on our array. All right, so the return of the includes is going to be either true or false based on the past value. All right, yeah, so that's it for the includes. Now let's move on to the find method. So find method takes a callback function, all right? So it's called item, and here our condition. So we return our condition. So let's say if the item I wanna return the item that is equal to 3. All right. So again, this array.find method is going to return undefined or the value that met this condition. All right. So if I save the file, return 3, because as I said, this callback function is going to be called with every single item of the array. All right. So with find, it checks if 1 is equal to 3, which is false. So it's not going to be, the item is not going to be returned. Checked for 2, false 2, but for 3, the condition was met. So we returned the actual item. All right. But let's say if I wanted an item that is equal to 93, and if I save the file, undefined is going to be returned because there was no item that met this condition. All right. So, but let's try out this example. Let's say I want to return the item that is greater than 2. If I save the file, 3 was returned. All right. But why? Why to our better example? One item that is less than 5. All right. So 1 was returned. Why? 2 is also less than 5. 3 is also less than 5. 4 is also less than 5. Why 1 was returned? It's because when using the find method, the first value or the first item that met this condition is going to be returned. It doesn't matter if other items also met the condition. It doesn't check for them. So the find method, it's going to find the first value that checks this condition. In our case, 1 is less than 5, which means 1 is going to be returned. All right. So that's it. So the find method takes a callback function, right, and it returns a boolean value. Oh, sorry, not a boolean value. It returns undefined in case the item was not found or the condition was not met, or it returns the value if it was found. All right. So now let's move on to sum. All right. So sum also takes a callback function, and what sum does, sum always returns a boolean value. All right. So it's gonna return either true or false. All right. So if the condition is met, right, in at least one item of the array, the sum method is going to return true, right? If the condition wasn't met at all, the return value is going to be false. So let's check if an item is greater than 5. If I save, return was false because all these items do not meet this condition. All right, 5 is not greater than 5. 5 is not greater than 5. So all these values haven't checked this condition, which means the return is false. All right, but let's say if item is equal to 2, and I save. As you can see, the return is true. Why? Because we actually found a value that met the condition. All right. So 2 was equal to 2, which means we found a value that met the condition, and we're going to return true. It doesn't matter if others do not meet the condition. If only one value met the condition, we are going to return true. All right. So this is it for sum. Sum is going to always return a boolean value. True if at least one item met the condition from the array. If not, it's going to return false. Now let's move on to the every method. All right, so every is similar to sum. It takes also a callback function, but the difference is when using every, all the items from this array have to met the condition. So in our case, we're saying the item has to equal 2. So every single value here has to equal 2. Otherwise, it will return false. So in our case, if I save the file, the return value is going to be false because 1 is not equal to 2, 3 is not equal to 2, 4 is not equal to 2, and 5 is not equal to 2, even though 2 is equal to 2. But with every single item of this array has to meet this condition. All right. In our case, that wasn't true, so we return false. But if I said every single item has to be greater than 0, all right, which is true because 1, 2, 3, 4, all these values are greater than 0. So if I save, as you can see, the return was true because every single item has met our condition because every single item was greater than 0. All right. So every method takes a callback function, all right, and checks for this condition. If every single item has met this condition, the return will be true. Otherwise, it's going to be false. All right. So that's it. Pretty much, we covered the most used array methods in JavaScript. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys have any questions, just make sure to comment on the video below and leave a thumbs up. And hope you guys enjoyed the video, and see you in the next one.